Season 4 is the year South Park becomes a man. Less in the sense of it having to worry about bills and a wife and kids that it resents for holding it back from its carefree lifestyle, and more in the sense that this is the year that South Park's identity is fully established and realized. Matt, Trey, and everybody else at South Park Studios are taking everything that they learned from the first 3 seasons and movie and applying it. The show's cast is ever expanding with some of the funniest and most memorable characters. Episode concepts and plotlines are more engaging and coherent than ever. The show's satire is getting sharper and more timely than ever before thought possible. For the first time ever, the show undergoes major continuity changes. And of course, there's that obvious glaring feature Season 4 has over every other season that's introduced here. Timel. But I'm here to do more today than just list off reasons Season 4 is a cut above the first 3. Won't you please join me as I talk about South Park Season 4 and make my case why I think Season 4 is South Park's most important and defining season. And also keep in mind that most important doesn't necessarily mean it's my favorite. The season starts off with the boys' hopes and dreams, especially Kyle's, being crushed when they figure out that the Tooth Fairy isn't real. Then it ends with them setting out to create the spirit of Christmas, Jesus vs. Santa. I mean, that right there already shows how much the boys have grown. They've gone far enough in the show that they're now setting out to create one of the pilots to their own show, and things are getting a little bit mindfucky. Maybe Kyle was right to have that existential crisis at the beginning of the season. Anyway, speaking of the boys growing up, 4th grade. You see, a little more than halfway into the season, the boys graduate from Mr. Garrison's, or I guess Mr. Weiland's 3rd grade class. And so that means that from here on out in the series, up until certain mishaps involving seamen and maybe some sea women too, the boys are now in 4th grade being taught by Miss Makes Me Sick, or Miss Chokes on Dick. So I don't know if this opinion's unpopular or not, but I honestly consider Diane Chokes on Dick to be an entertaining replacement for Mr. Garrison, more so than Mr. Weiland or Ms. Nelson anyway. Weiland and Nelson have the whole competent teacher thing going on, but aside from that, neither of them really have much of a defined personality, and neither of them really have any funny moments. Then there's obviously Mr. Garrison, who's been the show's main teacher for the longest period of time, and even when he wasn't the 4 main boys teacher in 4th grade anymore, the show still made sure to keep him around as the kindergarten teacher. And then we've got Miss Chokes on Dick, who I think fundamentally fits into South Park. Just like every other character in South Park, she also has the same tendency to lose her shit and go a little out of control from time to time. Couple that with the fact that she's actually pretty competent at her job, more than Mr. Garrison can say anyway. And you know, I just think having her as a teacher throughout the latter half of Season 4 really adds a unique flavor to the show. It's cool to see South Park switching things up within the continuity this early on in its life. I mean, sure, we're 3 years in, and we've had 4 seasons and a movie, but, you know, most animated shows, and especially the ones intended for adults, they don't usually tend to go for major continuity changes, especially not this early on in the show. I mean, Lisa didn't go vegetarian in The Simpsons until 7 years in. But let's step off of Jim's territory now. And also, because I know somebody's going to jump into the comments and say it, they're gonna go, "Oh, Judy, what are you talking about? Them moving to 4th grade was the first major continuity change. What about when Mr. Hat went missing and Mr. Garrison replaced him with Mr. Twig?" And to that I say, I wouldn't exactly consider that a major continuity change. It was reversed pretty quickly. The previous 2 seasons did play around some with the continuity, but never nearly to this degree that's going on here in Season 4. Okay, I want to say something, but I know for a fact it's going to piss off lots of South Park episodic elitists. Fuck it, I'm gonna do it anyway. Season 4 is the first South Park season to incorporate serialization. You know, that thing that at least half of the South Park fan community claims ruined the show. Obviously, I'm exaggerating, like, about as much as humanly possible. You'd be hard-pressed to say that this is a serialized season of South Park, but it does have elements. More elements than I'd say any other classic South Park season, anyway. In the season's 5th episode, Mr. Garrison accidentally solicits sex from Eric Cartman, thinking that he's somebody else. So he gets arrested and, yeah, fired from South Park Elementary because he's a convicted sex offender. He does say that he only likes men or women his own age, and I do think that the show is kind of implying here that he thought he was meeting up with an older young man, maybe someone a little bit more legal, who knows. I certainly hope so anyway. Otherwise, it's Mr. Garrison Chris Hansen should have been telling to take a seat in Season 11. And so yeah, from this point on, Garrison's out and boring wet-ass blanket Wyland's in. And like I said earlier, the boys move on up to 4th grade, yada yada, hopes and dreams broken. Then after teaching Miss Chokes-on-Dick how to handle that class, Mr. Garrison goes on his own little inward journey. The end result being the show's other big continuity change this season, Mr. Garrison's coming out. Sure, it's all concentrated towards the middle of the season, but as I said before, the elements of serialization are there. Anyways, all this talk about serialization is making me hungry, but I can't eat because I'm doing this damn video, so let's talk about the big breakout secondary character of the year. I think Season 4 star will come as a shock to none of you. So let's just skip out on the theatrics and the suspense. He's the newcomer of the year, he hangs out amongst the lords of the underworld, he's living a lie, he's Timmy Birch, that is. I have to admit something, I was kind of hoping to be able to spotlight Butters here, as this is a big year of growth for him. He started to speak up last year, and this year he's actually becoming an active team player in many plots. But he's got nothing on Timmy, who has 2 spotlight episodes in this year alone, and arguably 3 major-ish roles in other episodes. Plus, you've got to understand that Timmy was a phenomenon in 2000. So much so that Matt and Trey said that at that time it was a regular thing that people would come up to them on the streets and just scream, "Timmy!" Proving that no matter what all the stinky Phil Collins of the world have to say, Timmy will always wheel his way into our hearts and minds. He's bursting at the seams with musical talent, and he's got a heart of gold to save a deformed turkey from certain death. In fact, I'd say the common theme for all of Timmy's appearances in this season is that he's helping other people out. His literal introduction to the show was him helping the boys pull Kenny's loose tooth out. He might mostly only be able to say his own name and live in a lie, but what he lacks in mouth words, he more than makes up for in being the coolest kid in South Park Elementary. I, for one, would die for Timma. And speaking of dying, let's talk about Kenny's death tally of the year. But just real quick, I did want to clear up a little bit of a mistake I made in the last season retrospective. That's right, you heard me! I made a little bit of an oopsie poopsie. So what happened? What went wrong, alright? I'll tell you what went wrong. I said that Kenny only died 14 times last year. And in case that wasn't embarrassing enough, I literally dismissed Korn's groovy pirate ghost mystery saying that Kenny didn't die at all in that episode. But no, there's actually a mid-credit scene, because who does mid-credit scenes? But anyway, as stupid as that is, there's a mid-credit scene that shows him dying. So yeah, Kenny died 15 times in 1999. Well, really 16 because of the movie, but we're just talking about Season 3. Luckily this year there aren't as many oddities and confusions surrounding Kenny deaths, at least compared to the last 2 seasons. It's mostly pretty cut and dry. Every episode that Kenny's in, with 2 major exceptions, he dies in. The major exception, of course, being the episode Fat Camp. See, they do get rid of Kenny in the plot, and they do have a "you killed Kenny" moment, but it comes with an asterisk. See, while Cartman's at weight loss camp, he's got a sound-alike standing in for him, gathering food and bringing it back so that he can sell it to the other fat kids. All this is going on while Kenny's getting pretty famous for eating disgusting crap. That all reaches a head, no pun intended, when Kenny gets arrested for performing oral sex on Howard Stern. Meanwhile, the Cartman lookalike gets busted for not really being Cartman when he gives a heartfelt speech. Obviously, Cartman doesn't have an insightful bone in his body, and the boys know that, so they blackmail the kid into pretending to be Kenny. He has no choice but to climb up inside Miss Crabtree's uterus, don't ask, where he suffocates to death. So yeah, they killed Kenny's lookalike. But not Kenny himself, so we're not counting it. The other big exception is the 2-parter of this season, Do the Handicapped Go to Hell and Probably. We're led to believe he dies in Do the Handicapped Go to Hell, but in Probably it's actually revealed he survived the bus hit, so yeah. So that brings Kenny's death tally of this year to 13. The South Park fan wiki lists 15 deaths, but they're counting the dream sequence from Cartman Joins Nambla and that bus's hit and run and Do the Handicapped Go to Hell, and neither of those count, so yeah. We also get some confirmation that Kenny is well aware of his deaths and immortality. In Cherokee Hair Tampons, when Stan is crying that Kyle might die if he doesn't get a kidney transplant, you can straight up hear that Kenny absolutely says, "You guys never care when I die." Also, Cartman Joins Nambla shows that his parents know too. Damn, Garrison finally admits he's gay and Kenny reveals he knows about his deaths. What a year for character development. This also is officially the year that South Park becomes that show that deals with topical events in a very timely fashion. It all begins with the episode Quintuplets 2000, which has a plot line that pretty heavily mirrors the Elian Gonzalez case, even going as far as recreating images that were circulating around the news on the case. Let me explain. Without getting too far into making this a history lesson, The Elian Gonzalez case was a custody battle where the Gonzalez family was kind of trying to defect from Cuba, much in the same way the contorting quintuplets are trying to defect from Romania in this episode. The events, of course, taking place around Easter Sunday, and the episode aired the Wednesday after. So yeah, needless to say, it was pretty amazing to see an animated show take on real-world events that had just happened a few days prior. There's also Chef Goes Nanners, which was a satire on the controversy surrounding South Carolina changing its flag. And if you really want to go crazy, we can count something you can do with your finger, as it is a satire on the big boy band craze that was going on at the time. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention Cartman Joins NAMBLA, which was a satire of NAMBLA actually being a real group. Pretty much South Park's the perfect representation of American culture within the past 20 years. Kids, why learn from your teachers when you can learn from Eric Cartman? Oh wait, we're not at season 12 yet, never mind. So yeah, I've spent all this time telling you about all the things that South Park Season 4 does to develop the series, but none of it really means anything if this season isn't funny. So what's the final verdict? Will Season 4 make you laugh so hard that milk will come out of your nose, regardless of whether or not you're drinking milk? I certainly think so. I mean, you know, we know that South Park is lots of fart jokes and toilet humor, but there's more to it than just that at this point. This season, much like Season 3, emphasizes more character-based humor than the first two. And as per usual, the show's usage of comedic exaggeration is on point. Add in that delicious, succulent flavor of topical humor, and it makes for a pretty fucking funny season. But more than that, it makes for, at least in my opinion, South Park's most defining season of the series. And this season really does have something for everyone. It's got the same wacky hijinks of boys just being boys that lots of classic South Park fans like, and it's got the satirical, topical humor that modern South Park fans like. And it's not just me who thinks this. When polling fellow South Park fans about what they think of Season 4, 38% say that they think it's a defining season of South Park, 5% are completely indifferent, and a whopping 57% said they would kick Bon Jovi square in the balls. Jokes aside, though, what do you think of Season 4? Do you like it? Do you hate it? What's your favorite and least favorite episode? Leave it in the comments below. I'm always interested to hear my fellow South Park fans' opinions on these things, except for when they disagree with me! Just kidding. I actually find opinions different from mine when it comes to this subject pretty fascinating. But yeah, leave them down below, and as usual, that's it from me. Hasta la pasta!